allowing me to be here today. They wanted me to give you a little bit of update before I transition to my topic about who I am and my passion and my journey in education. I've been in Hillsborough County for 2.5 years and started in March of 2020. And first week on the job, I had to shut down every school, 250 schools, 220,000 students, and 25,000 employees. Welcome to Hillsborough County. Here's COVID, and at the same token, 2 months later, we find ourselves in a $150 million deficit and had to make some very difficult decisions. But I will get here to say that I've learned so much during that time, and we continue to grow. I've been in education. This has started my 24th year. I started as a teacher, transitioned up to a chief of schools deputy in Jacksonville, Florida, and Duval County, the 20th largest school district in the nation, and then transitioned for 3.5 years to be the superintendent of schools in Clay County, and then selected Hillsborough as a place to be able to grow and lead and be able to impact this community in a way where we created the best educational environment every single day, not only located and identified through the state of Florida, but also identified through our nation as a premier school district. I'm here today to be able to talk about the ask that I've put forward to the school board, and at the same token, the ask that I put forward to the Board of County Commissions, and in which both of those were approved and put on a ballot, which is a millage increase for August 23rd, 2022. We understand fully that this is not the greatest time to be able to ask the community due to all the complexities, all the inflation that we see in the example of gas prices, but openly we have to do something internally in Hillsborough County Public Schools in an effort to win the talent war. When we look at what we've done over the last 2 years, one thing that we always get questions about is what have we done to be fiscal responsible within our school district. Over the last 2 years, our school district and this administration has come through every dollar and every cent to make sure that it is aligned to our strategic plan and that we are seeing organizational impact in a positive manner in an effort to make sure that every expenditure that we have and all the money that we generate are genuinely working to do two things. The first thing is to make certain that our children have all the resources they need in an effort to be successful. And the second thing is to make certain that we are protecting and incentivizing the working conditions of every one of our employees, from support staff to teachers to school-based leaders, and at the same token, district leaders as well, to show a sense of care. With that, we've had to make some very difficult decisions to align our budget, and I'm here to tell you that this is the first year that we'll end our budget not in a financial deficit in a decade. And that is the hard work and very hard decisions that we've made. And as you know, that first coming here, we had to cut over 1,000 positions. I've had to renegotiate and selectively abandon contracts. We had to be able to look at travel efficiency, being able to look at energy efficiency, and the list goes on to look at potential property sales as well, all to bring us back and improve confidence and transparency and reliability with all of our funding. But I'm here for you today to talk about our millage. And we look at what inflation over the last 15 years, inflation nationally has increased 32.8%. And we look at what we received from Tallahassee in that same 15-year window, we've only seen and recognized an increase in educational funding at 7.93%, leaving a major gap for school districts to be able to make certain we create robust avenues, and the same token that we are properly demonstrating value for every one of our employees in the organization. With that said, 21 school districts in the state of Florida have gone out and obtained increased mill from their communities, understanding that there had to be something else to be able to fulfill that gap, that financial gap, to show value, to put the money and the funding collectively and intensely on redoing the salary schedules for every teacher, every leader, school-based leader, every support staff member, food nutrition, bus drivers, all to be able to recruit, retain a rich, diverse workforce that's here to be able to work for our students every single day. From our perspective, if we look around surrounding counties of that, you have Manatee, you have Sarasota, you have Pinellas, all have an increased mill to be able to win the talent war. And you have Pasco County going out for an increased mill, and at the same token, Hope County will go out for next year. So when we talk about equity not only from a local perspective, how are we addressing equity within Hillsborough County Public Schools, we have to be able to look at the lens of equity not only from a regional perspective, but but throughout the entire state. You know, why is it okay for 21 school districts in the communities to step up to further support and build additional salary schedules that allows, bring the best and the brightest teachers and leaders every single day, in Hillsborough County not have that opportunity? So for us, we have to be in the forefront. So the millage for the recommendation for it would be identified in the ballot is threefold. The first one is to use a minimum of 75%, and this has to be negotiated with the board and our unions. But 75% of the funding for the life of the millage, which is a 4-year mill, is to use it toward compensation for every employee in this organization. And that's going to allow us to be able to win that talent award and be able to keep individuals within our school district to make certain that we continue to fight the Great Resignation. The Great Resignation that we have before us, there's 4,000 instructional vacancies in the state of Florida. It was in April. And that means that 84,000 students were not being served by a highly qualified, skilled, certified teacher on a consistent basis. And as we all know, when we went to school, we had stability every day in our classrooms. And for our children this year, and not only locally but throughout the state, not to be able to have that stability for their teacher, it is unacceptable. And for us, we closed the school, and they'll tell us that, and Johnny can tell you as well, with 400 instructional vacancies. We are currently facing 700 instructional vacancies right now due to the Great Resignation. And the 4,000 vacancies in the state of Florida have gone close to 9,000 instructional vacancies. We have to be able to create stability for our children to excel academically, socially, emotionally. The second tier is that I'll go back to education. We rank Hillsborough County ranks 45th out of 67 counties related to per pupil funding. And when you look at other school districts that are our size, Miami-Dade, Pinellas, Orange County, Broward, West Palm Beach, they all have an additional mill to be able to address the compensation packages for our employees. We have got to be able to stand tall and be able to make sure that we have the best in front of our children as well. And when we look at the state of Florida ranks 45th in the nation related to per pupil funding as well. And while the last 2 years have been 2 years, we've seen some movement with educational dollars, especially for brand new teachers and early adopters. We still have to, in categoricals, there's still a need to be able to address and be able to fill the voids when we look at where we are financially. From a brand new teacher's perspective, or for a teacher in Hillsborough County, for the last, in your first 6 or 7 years, when you're on our salary schedule, you are compressed. And, we're thankful for for what has happened in Tallahassee. Brand new teachers start at $47,500. However, for the first 6 to 7 years, they have the same salary schedule, the same pay, which is unacceptable. Because we always have to deal with the cost of living. That COLA is going to increase every single year. As we see it, we went from $2 a gas, now we're at $5 a gas. $47,500 for the first 6 to 7 years is unacceptable. And the millage is going to allow us to be able to address and properly compensate and be able to fill some of those voids that exist. The second tier is to the millage is to be able to, part of that 25% is to be able to expand visual performing arts. Our children, we have 15,000 students, youngsters, that aren't exposed to art, music, and PE within their schools. And that is unacceptable. This is where children fall in love and discover who they are. And we want continuity from elementary to middle school and high school to be able to have robust, thriving programs where our children can interact every single day with these types of initiatives. So when we look at that, this millage will be able to provide 45 additional art teachers, 67 additional music teachers, 37 additional physical education teachers, all to create that well-rounded perspective just to allow our children to compete inside and outside of our classrooms. And at the same token, our students need to be able to let their hair down, not just be focused with all the core content classes, whether it's through acceleration, whether it's through workforce, whether it's through visual performing arts. Those are all areas that our children need to be exposed to so they can find their true pathways and fall in love. And at the same token, we put so much burden on our parents and our schools to fundraise, to be able to address obsolete instruments, to be able to address and fill the voids for uniforms, whether it be for travel in the nation, whether it be for band uniforms, you name it. this money will allow us to be able to expand and show value in that particular initiative. And the third prong is all about workforce development. My job as superintendent, our roles as leaders and teachers, we are in the school board. Our job is to make sure we create full option graduates, those who can transition to post-secondary education, those who can transition to the military, and workforce development. And in that process, workforce development has become a major piece of who we are in Hillsborough County. This past year, we were the #1 school district in the state of Florida for FTE, or career technical educational students involved in that process, meaning that we are offering and have 55,000 of our students taking accelerated courses through CTE, which is great. That means that they're trying to find pathways to have stackable credentials to be successful. And 3 months ago, I launched a construction academy that we will launch in the fall of 2023, a medical academy that we will launch in fall of 2023, and a technical medical academy as well, to be able to serve our community. We know that we continue to work with the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity to identify jobs that have a base salary of $52,000 or above, that we are providing ongoing certifications, licensures, and exposures to first-round draft pick teachers and leaders and liaisons to be able to create opportunities and exposures to equipment, materials, curriculum, and leveraging advisory boards to make sure that our students are able and willing to be able to be involved in internships, externships, and apprenticeships that allow them to separate themselves so they transition to the workforce. And in that process, it's going to allow us to expand and create state-of-the-art facilities. It's going to allow us to be able to update our curriculum and also be able to potentially lean on some of our agencies and our corporations to bring some of their best and their brightest technicians, experts, and engineers in front of our students for that additional exposure to be able to win along the way. And currently what we have is our current mill that's established by the state is 3.6. If we look back at and this is all regulated by the state, what we had in 2012 and 2013, the millage rate was 5.6. So with the increased mill, this passes, when it passes in August 23rd, we still have a lower mill than we had in 2012, 2013, meaning that we're paying more taxes in the last 10 years. At the same token, if the state would have kept 5.6 in 2012, 2013, the school district would have recognized in the last 10 years close to $1 billion, which means we could have done some really cool things with compensation packages and also with innovation to be able to make sure that our children have the greatest exposure and educational opportunity within Hillsborough County. They didn't, but we're here today to be able to create this ask to be informed about this process. In addition to that, we talk about the average homeowner. We look at the median in Hillsborough County is around $250,000 for a homeowner. And what does that mean to be able to potentially pay on an annual basis? It's $225 annually. And if you look at that process, what that will cost on a daily average is 67 cents, which is less than a cup of coffee. We understand that $225 is a lot of money, for a lot of us. But if you look at what we're talking about, being able to continue to double down on education and show that the importance of education, we need assistance right now. And as we look at doing and talking about the differential from the half penny sales tax versus the millage, we're really thankful, as you know, in 2018, 2019, this community stepped up to be able to address the $1 billion of deferred maintenance, which we do not get additional assistance to address all of our facilities that we have to serve children and make sure that they're most attractive. That money can only be pinned here for expansion of new schools, expansion of student stations, to be able to address safety measures, to be able to address technology. That money cannot be used because of the language on the ballot to address any of the other operating expenses. And this is what the millage will be able to do. It's very clear in the ballot language, is to address compensation packages for every employee in the school district, to be able to expand visual performing arts, and at the same token, being able to address workforce development. As superintendent of schools and educators, we cannot ask you to vote yes or no on this initiative. The only thing that we can do is arm you with information that you can make an informed decision and be able to to determine whether or not this is the right time to further support. I know there's been conversations in this community about, where this district has been financially and determine whether or not there's fiscal responsibility and there's transparency. We do have a Citizens Oversight Committee, which is ran by Mr. Warner, that is identified by leaders of our school board and myself and other agencies and unions that stand up to be able to look at every dollar and every cent and how we're spending it. But I can tell you this, in the last 2.5 years, this administration has been extremely transparent by bringing in and addressing every facet of this budget. We are now in a better place in what we actually generate. It is matched up to what we are expending, and that has not been the historical trend. And I'm saying this is it is no one's fault. It's the cards that were dealt coming in 2.5 years ago, and we made some very difficult decisions to be in the forefront. And I commend this board in the last 2.5 years for holding me accountable to make sure that everything we do is aligned to our strategic plan and openly helping children. So all this to say, we've got to be able to figure out how we win the talent war. If we do not step up, I'm just telling you openly, the surrounding counties, we are losing first-round draft pick teachers and first-round draft pick principals every single day to surrounding counties. I lost one last week, getting paid $20,000 more in Pinellas County, and I can't. And this is the individual I would love to keep in the organization, but I can't match that intensity financially without matching everyone else in the organization, and we just don't have the money to do it. We will continue to implement our financial recovery plan, but it's going to take years to be able to build that coffer to get to a point where we can continually address in an attractive manner, recruit and retain the best and the brightest within our school district. I'll stop talking because I can do this for a long time, and I'll transition to any questions that you may have.